The film commences in the not-so-distant future. Jung-yi, a renowned soldier in the army, finds herself in an abandoned town. After an explosion, she wakes up to face an army of robots closing in on her from every direction. With calculated precision on her weapon, Jung-yi successfully fights off the humanoid robots. However, a stronger robot with 4 legs appears. Seeking strategic hiding spots, she surprises the robot by setting it on fire. Yet, the robot quickly extinguishes the flames, ready to attack once again. Thinking quickly, Jung-yi uses her hook to stack metal beams and hurls them at the approaching robot, ultimately trapping it. As she prepares for her final shot, a small doll hanging from the rear window of a nearby car distracts her. This distraction allows the robot to shoot Jung-yi, pushing her back. It is at this moment, as she reflects on her broken hand, that she realizes she is not human, but an android. An alarm alerts, and the town plunges into darkness. It soon becomes clear that this is not the real Jung-yi, who died in battle some time ago. Presently, a group of scientists has been utilizing a replicated version of her brain to create an unreplaceable soldier android. Unfortunately, they have been facing a major setback, as their simulations consistently fail at the same point, with no explanation as to why. The team leader is Seo-hyun, who claims to be Jung-il's daughter, and she repeatedly witnesses her mother's death play out before her eyes. Determined to showcase their creation, Jung-yi Android, the project director Sang-hoon, plans a special presentation consisting of an elaborate dinner and a summary of the war's history. But the soldiers attending the presentation grow bored and urge him to expedite the proceedings. The soldiers come to realize that the android is still trapped within the simulation. The simulation was designed to show that if Jung-yi hadn't lost the battle, they would have won the war. However, the government will not fund the project until Jung-yi's final mistake is resolved. After the presentation, Seo-hyun meets privately with Sang-hoon, who assures her of his full support and emphasizes that the chairman has high expectations for her. Sang-hoon joined the chairman's team a decade ago, and he is aware that Seo-hyun was adopted by the chairman after losing her mother as a child. Soon, Seo-hyun teams up with a newcomer, Jung-kyung, to investigate the problem. When Jung-il's remaining parts are revived, her mind still thinks like a human. As a result, she becomes terrified and distressed upon realizing that she now exists as only a robot. Tears stream down her face, overwhelming her with pain. In response, Seo-hyun decides to destroy the malfunctioning brain copy, deeming it irreparable. Having completed their work, Seo-hyun seizes the moment to express his excitement about the opportunity to work alongside Jung-yi, whom he greatly admires and considers a true hero. He proceeds to clarify that Jung-il never desired to become a hero, but instead became a mercenary due to having had a tumor in her lungs as a child. Every time her mother went off to battle, she would shed tears. Occasionally, she ponders if her mother regrets making this sacrifice and harbors resentment towards her. Jae-kyung suggests that she could inquire with the android about Jung-il's memories, as they both share the same memories. She expresses that she will contemplate it, but she seems hesitant. The last time she saw her mother was as she took the local train home. It was while she was preparing for surgery, and her friend Jung-yi wished her well before she went off to battle. Her mother promised to return and gave her a warm embrace. When the train pulled into the station, Seo-hyun proceeded to take her annual ethics examination, a mandatory requirement for everyone to prove their humanity and not be a robot. She learned the tumor came back, giving her 3 months. The doctor suggested cloning her brain with a prosthetic, but it's expensive. Type B is pricier, but sacrifices rights. Type C provides a free prosthesis, but loses individuality. Type C, the option chosen by Jung-yi to acquire the funds necessary for her daughter's surgery, was carefully pondered by Seo-hyun before she left the doctor's office, where a recharging session for the android doctor took place. As she was leaving, memories flooded her mind of the day when company executives arrived at her home and requested her grandmother's signature on a contract in exchange for covering the costs of raising her daughter. To further comfort the young girl, they gifted her an action figure resembling her mother, and assured her that her mother would forever be her hero. After Seo-hyun pays a heartfelt visit to her mother's unconscious body, her team proceeds to create a fresh replica of her brain for testing in a new simulation. However, Sang-hoon insists that the android be shot in the leg before commencing, causing Jung-yi to awaken from the simulation in excruciating pain. This becomes unbearable for Seo-hyun, prompting her to attempt a fight. Regrettably, she is quickly overpowered, and her determination to fight starts to waver. Just when the enemy is poised to end Jung-yi's life, a previously untapped part of her brain sparks to life, compelling her to stand up and face the robot head-on. With sheer determination, she manages to defeat her opponent using her fist. The following day, the entire team departs from the laboratory and travels to the company headquarters to meet the chairman. However, the chairman is unavailable. Instead, they encounter the new head of the product development department. On their way back to the lab, Sang-hoon insults the new employee and vows to uphold the chairman's vision. A few days later, the group is looking at new parts to use in their next android test when they are informed that the chairman is coming to see them. During his ride, he asks Seo-hyun if she has taken her ethics test because it's important for them to make sure she's mentally healthy. We then see him entering the office, and suddenly, it dawns on him that he is actually an android created by the chairman through cloning his own brain. Sang-hoon is completely clueless about what is happening, but the chairman reveals that he has brought news about the Allied forces signing a treaty with the Adrian Republic. This means that the war has finally come to an end, and there will no longer be a need for weapons. The chairman believes that the research conducted on Jung-ji is far from useless. In fact, it has provided invaluable insights into the development of high-quality artificial intelligence. He reveals that his original plan was to clone his own brain in order to achieve immortality. But he decided against living within a machine that would lack genuine human experiences. Seo-hyun is determined to continue her mother's project. However, her request was denied by the chairman. Later on, the team returns to work, as they must complete it before changing their goals. Unfortunately, Jung-yi continues to experience problems in the same area. Sang-hoon becomes frustrated when they are unable to activate the new brain area to isolate the issue. In a desperate attempt to make Seo-hyun understand the seriousness of the situation, he insists that the team activate the android and cut her arm, causing Jung-yi to suffer even more as the pain worsens in her brain. Seo-hyun, feeling impassioned, switches off the system to end the android's suffering. But Sang-hoon, fueled with anger, threatens her with his gun. Soon after, another employee comes to inform him that the chairman wants to see him. Sang-hoon walks away without saying a word, while Seo-hyun thanks her team for their hard work. It's time to end the project, but she asks them to collect all the data and send it to her. Later, she ignores the pain in her lungs to look at the data, and to her astonishment, she finds that her mother's brain has been exported once more without her knowledge. She goes to check it out, and as she walks past her friend's room, she hears some naughty noises and sneaks in. She finds out that her friend is getting cozy with the new android, who has been designed to do naughty things but still has Jung-yil's face. Furious, she pushes Jae-kyung against the shelves and calls him a pervert. But Jae-kyung explains that he was only following orders, and that because Jung-yil was so popular, people would pay a lot of money for her. Jung-yi's personality is type C, which means she can be manipulated by anyone. She leaves the lab in tears, knowing that she should have known this would happen when they gave her her own dead mother's action figure. A few minutes later, she returns to the lab to spend some time with the android, only to find Sang-hoon there. She ignores him and enters the android's chamber. She wakes it up after turning off the pain sensors. As soon as she has Jung-yi's attention, she tells her that she is deeply hurt and that she will now let her die in peace. But just as Seo-hyun is about to turn it off, the area of her brain they had been searching for finally lights up, and Jung-yi asks if her daughter has survived the surgery. Seo-hyun burst into tears and told her that the surgery was successful, so she could move on in peace. Jung-yil is relieved to hear this and confesses that she was feeling guilty because during the fight, she had lost the little doll her daughter had given her before going into surgery. This is why Jung-il always loses in the same place. She sees the little doll in her car and is consumed with guilt. When she can no longer hear this, she shuts down and has a complete breakdown, screaming at her guilt. The next day, Jung-il asks Seo-hyun to do one last simulation. She tells the other members of the team that she will set up the simulation on her own, and once they are gone, she deletes the unidentified portion of Jung-il's brain. Then, she begins to whisper in Jung-il's ear about all the terrible things that would happen to her if she didn't do something. When the final simulation begins, Jung-yi uses the usual battle tactics and dies in the same spot as before. Jae-kyung detects Jung-yi's brain's response was strangely weak, but Sang-hoon doesn't care anyway. But as he starts walking to his room, he suddenly realizes that he has also seen something strange. He rushes back to the lab, asking for the simulation to be played again. There he confirms that Jung-yi wasn't actually shot, but was just pretending to be. As soon as she realizes this, she knocks out the employees who are taking her away. While everyone is preparing for emergency measures, Seo-hyun goes back to the lab to delete all the original data. Jung-yi, on the other hand, is a legendary combatant, and she easily defeats them all. However, one of the security robots took advantage of Jung-yi's blind spot and kicked her from behind. At this point, Seo-hyun shows up and deactivates the robot just in time, telling Jung-yi that they are in this together. Jung-il trusts her because she is the voice of her dreams. Moments later, more security robots enter, allowing an android to carry Jung-il away before firing at him. However, they discover his body empty. Seo-hyun transferred his consciousness to another android. As the train departs, Seo-hyun finds Sang-hoon waiting. He accuses her, but she reveals she erased her memories to start over. Sang-hoon shoots Seo-il, prompting Jung-il to retaliate. He discovers his android identity in a reflection and activates his powers. The fight ensues, shaking the train. After a brief fight, Sang-hoon pushes Jung-yi out the window, but she deliberately lets go, then sneaks back in through another window. Security robots appear on a parallel train and attach to both wagons. Sang-hoon hooks Jung-yi, and Seo-hyun intervenes. She defeats the robots and throws Sang-hoon off, but he clings to the hook. They fight as the train reaches the city, causing the tracks to shake. Seo-hyun manages to grab one of the weapons and shoot a hook. Her mother manages to get back to the first wagon safely, and the second wagon crashes with Sang-hoon inside. The train finally stops working when it reaches the mountain area. Jung-yi tries to heal Seo-hyun's bullet wound, but they hear the police coming. She wants Jung-yun to escape, begin anew, and focus on herself without concern for her daughter. Jung-yi hesitates but agrees, bidding farewell and hugging her before parting ways. Jung-yun walks off, hoping for a better future, and dies feeling at peace. The film concludes with Jung-yi running through remote mountains, free from the people who want to use her.